The world of professional wrestling is a strange beast. There's a lot of good things. There's a lot of bad things. We got Austin versus McMahon. That was really good. The NWO was awesome. CM Punk's pipe bomb promo was one of the most brilliant things in professional wrestling history. But then, on the flip side, there's a million bad things, such as the Shockmaster, David Arquette winning the WCW title, Mae Young giving birth to a hand. Well, we're going to take a look at something a little different than that. Not moments, but we're talking about pay-per-views here. We had a lot of great pay-per-views such as WrestleMania, SummerSlam, King of the Ring. But today, we're going to look at 10 of the worst WWE pay-per-view names of all time. Coming in at number 10, the 2009 pay-per-view that featured the 3 Stages of Hell match. It was Randy Orton against Triple H in the main event for the WWE Championship. And you would think a show that has such an awesome main event, that match type goes down as one of my favorite match types in all of professional wrestling. And for them to have a bad pay-per-view name, this is The Bash. The reason this goes down as being a terrible pay-per-view name, and it's not higher on the list, is because it is just a boring name, The Bash. I really did like the Great American Bash, the WCW pay-per-view, but for some reason they just shortened it down to The Bash. To go with this bad pay-per-view, there was a really bad theme song. I can't even remember how to pronounce this. It's called Why You Want to Bring Me Down, but it's all one word by Aranda, the band. I don't know. You got to listen to that song. It's just, it is terrible. Anyway, it is a generic rock song, a generic theme, and a generic poster to go with it. The Bash featured Batista with his fist punching the screen. Just not a, the whole theme of it was just very, very lackluster and very, just not good. So, number 10, The Bash. Coming in at number 9, we're looking at an In Your House pay-per-view. And if you don't know what In Your House was sort of like a smaller show that wasn't the main pay-per-view. So how they had In Your House is it was like you had Survivor Series, you had Royal Rumble, you had WrestleMania, SummerSlam. Those were the big ones. Then you had In Your House, which is like smaller, lower-cost shows. And they wouldn't feature the big matches like you would see on Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam. King of the Ring as well, but you would see these smaller matches. Now we're looking at In Your House number 12. It's time for number 9. And the reason I got to go with this, again, it's like number 10. It's just a dumb name. When you're thinking it's time, what do you think of? It's time, it's Vader time, right? I would think Vader would be in one of the main events here, right? No. The main event was Psycho Sid versus Bret Hart. You had the Sharpshooter versus the Powerbomb. That was the poster, right? The Sharpshooter versus the Power Bomb. That's the tagline we're going here. Sponsored by Milton Bradley. But again, like I said, the reason I'm picking this being a dumb pay-per-view name, number 9, not lower on the list, but the reason is because it's just a dumb name. It's time. Like, I don't know what else to say about it, but it's just a very blah. Number 8 comes in as a name that really doesn't fit the theme of the pay-per-view. We're talking about Taboo Tuesday. Now, this was WWE's attempt to have a pay-per-view on a Tuesday, which is a cool concept because they've done it before in the past, so they tried it again in 2004. And we're looking at Taboo Tuesday. And the reason I'm going against this is I actually like the concept of the pay-per-view, right? The idea was that fans could vote online for the matches and the match types that they wanted to see. It's a great concept, but for whatever reason, the online matchmaking polls did not work very well. So the pay-per-view was kind of not very good. The reason I don't like the name, though, is because the word Taboo Tuesday. Taboo means like prohibited, excluded, that kind of thing. Like, you're not supposed to do that. Like, that's taboo. Taboo, and then it was Tuesday, and Tuesday is just a generic name, and like taboo is like, it's just really bad. Like, when you think of it, it doesn't really make any sense. They since changed the name going forward, and they went into Cyber Sunday, which again, if you think of Cyber Sunday and you think of cyber, I know cyber means like cyber attack, but if you were in the early 90s, late 90s into the internet dawning, if you ever talked about cybering with somebody, yeah, you might have to look that up. But that was sort of like the sexting back in the days, but it was online and it was cybering. So anyway, guys, I will say Taboo Tuesday goes down as one of the worst, just because it just doesn't make any sense towards the pay-per-view, right? You got taboo, which is forbidden, and Tuesday is just the day, so it doesn't really make much sense. In at number 7, we're taking a look at a pay-per-view named after a match type. Now, WWE seems to be doing this, and I think this is a lazy way to do things, is naming pay-per-views off of a match. And they do this because they really don't know what to do with the pay-per-view itself. And it really just makes me upset because I feel like they have the pay-per-view names, like they have like Extreme Rules, or they have like Money in the Bank, or they have whatever it is, TLC, and then that match is going to take place at that pay-per-view. So you already know the match is going to happen before we know the program that it's in. I'm always a fan of, we see the feud, we know what's going to happen in the feud, and then we figure out what the match is going to be at the pay-per-view. Not know what the match is and then figure out who's going to be in it. You understand what I'm saying? I don't like when they throw the pay-per-view name for what the main event is before we know what the main event actually is. But we're talking about Fatal 4-Way. When you're talking about matches and like the most extreme matches, all right, you got Hell in a Cell, you got TLC, you got Money in the Bank. Those all are okay for me. Although I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of them naming it after a match type. But when you're talking about like Fatal 4-Way, that just has never been a match that really struck out as a great match concept for me, let alone name an entire pay-per-view after that match. Selling that on paper is just not something that I would buy into. That'd be like calling it tag team match playa, and I just wouldn't be into that. But actually, that would probably be better than Fatal 4-Way. So Fatal 4-Way featured John Cena, Randy Orton, Edge, and Sheamus for the WWE Championship. The only thing interesting about these Fatal 4-Way matches is the champion does not have to be pinned to lose that title. But again, like I said, this is one of the least dangerous matches out there, and I'm just not a super huge fan of the name Fatal 4-Way. In at number 6, we're looking at a bland name again this Tuesday in Texas. We have a main event of Undertaker versus Hulk Hogan. There was controversy at the Survivor Series. Then we have this Tuesday in Texas, and we're going to get some conclusion to Hogan and Undertaker, but that wouldn't be the end of it because we'd lead on to the Royal Rumble 92. But anyway, this Tuesday in Texas, what day is it? It's Tuesday. Where is it at? Texas. Let's put a star on the poster as well, this Tuesday in Texas, and there it is. Doing a pay-per-view on Tuesday, I never really liked it. I think it's an okay concept, but it's just weird because most people like it on Sunday or whatever. I mean, they could do stuff on Saturday. You know, WWE's tried it every day almost to do a network special or a pay-per-view or whatever it may be. But the reason I don't like this Tuesday in Texas as a show name is because it's very, very blah. There's more to desire. When you have Hogan versus Taker, you got to come up with something way better than this Tuesday in Texas. In at number 5, we have another In Your House. This was In Your House 14, Revenge of the Taker. And the reason I don't like this is because The Undertaker was not even in the main event. We had Undertaker defending the WWE Championship against Mankind, but we had Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart for the number one contendership for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship at the time. So that match was the main event, and The Undertaker was not even in the main event at the time. And I didn't like the tagline, Revenge of the Taker. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I never really liked it. Are they going for like Revenge of the Nerds type thing? Is that where they come from? I don't like that name. I feel like if you're going to have Undertaker and he's on the poster and you're going to use his name, you got to put him in the main event, right? And the WWE Championship, not even in the main event. So Stone Cold and Bret Hart were the main event. I mean, I understand what was happening there, but you could have at least had Taker in the main event if he's going to be part of the show. Again, this is just like one of those corny names, Revenge of the Taker. Like I said, is this Revenge of the Nerds or what? I never understood this. I never liked it, and we'll leave it at that. I was never a fan when WWE would use the same pay-per-view name twice in a year. Looking at number 4, we have Roadblock End of the Line. Now, the first Roadblock was in March of 2016, and that was just a network special that aired on a Saturday. But then we have Roadblock End of the Line, which was December 18th, and that's just one of those rules that I have. Don't name the pay-per-view the same pay-per-view or network special the same time twice in a year. Whatever I'm trying to say here, don't do it. Also, End of the Line just didn't really make sense to me. Was this the end of the year, the end of a season, the end of the feud? What does End of the Line really mean? And when you think of End of the Line, you think of like, okay, this is the end. Like WrestleMania, you have your big end. There's the end. End of the Line will end all the major feuds, and then you'll go on to the end. But that wasn't what it was. I just think that End of the Line Roadblock was a stupid name. It was like a roadblock to the Royal Rumble or something. The roadblock to WrestleMania. I don't know. It just never really worked for me. I never liked the name Roadblock. Fastlane was another one that they just, like, anytime when they do like car related themes, I never I don't know why. I was just never a fan of that one. But Roadblock End of the Line goes down as being one of my least favorite ones, just because they used it twice in a year, and I just really never liked Roadblock as a pay-per-view name. It's like, it just doesn't work for me. Now, earlier in the list, I talked about pay-per-views that used match types in their title. That was one of those pet peeves of mine. And at number 3, we have TLC and Stairs. So we're looking at tables, ladders, and chairs, and tables, ladders, chairs, and I can't even say it without it making tables, ladders, chairs, and stairs. And we did have an and stairs match in this pay-per-view, which I don't like that match. I didn't like the pay-per-view name. I don't like pay-per-views that are named after match types. Quite frankly, this is just stupid. Coming in at number 2, we're looking at In Your House 8. Beware of Dog. This is just a dumb name. In Your House had some very, very bad pay-per-view names. I mean, it wasn't, the pay-per-view In Your House was a great concept. I really liked it. I thought it was cool. And then if you got the Best of In Your House DVD, such a great show. Just overall, I liked it. But as far as like, we have a bunch of matches on here with the British Bulldog being in the main event, such as the name Beware of Dog. But just like a barking dog in your house logo was the main logo for that. I mean, I get when we get Shawn Michaels British Bulldog, that's a cool name for the pay-per-view, but I just don't like Beware of Dog. I mean, like I said, you could have Shawn Michaels British Bulldog, but Beware of Dog is so stupid. It's just very like cartoonish and dumb, and like it doesn't fit professional wrestling at all, and I don't like it. In at number 1, you guessed it, it is Great Balls of Fire. Another concept name for some reason that I don't get it. This must have been a brainchild of Vince McMahon coming out and saying, Great Balls of Fire. And somebody, I guarantee it was one of those writers that doesn't really watch professional wrestling, and they're just like, let's name the pay-per-view Great Balls of Fire. Or Vince might have heard this on his workout playlist or something. I don't know what it came up with, but Great Balls of Fire is just a stupid name, and not to make light of the situation of the logo, which does look like a twig and berries. Looks like 2 balls. It's the Great Balls of Fire, so they make it look like a male anatomy that we will not name. You can all figure it out. But even Sasha Banks came out and tweeted, yeah, it does. But the thing is it's just a stupid name. It goes down like with Beware of Dog and Tuesday and Tech, like just names that are dumb, and they just like, what were you thinking when you made this? Like, what, honestly, what was going through your mind when you picked out this name, Great Balls of Fire? It doesn't fit anything for me. It doesn't add anything. It doesn't put a stamp of approval on the main event. Honestly, if you just went off based off the name, you'd have no idea what's happening at the show. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's just Great Balls of Fire really does not make a wrestling pay-per-view name. Anyway, guys, that's where we'll end it here with our top 10 worst pay-per-view name list. Let me know what your top 10 worst pay-per-view names are of all time. Would you keep the list the same? Was there some that I missed? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Hit that like button if you enjoy this. and make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed. As always, Tony Pizza Guy, thanks for joining the Pizza Party. Deuce.